あいにくの曇りです。こちらはもう雲がなくなったんですけどね、ちょっと今日は山の上に登ろうと思ってるんですけど曇ってますね。
They run every Saturday, rain, hail or shine. Now after David Collins passed away, our next governor arrived in the colony in November of 1811 after doing 12 years as governor of New South Wales. He did a further 11 years here before going back to the UK in 1822. His name was Lachlan Macquarie. It was said when Lachlan Macquarie first arrived in the colony that he was quite ashamed of the behaviour of the soldiers who kept an eye on the three settlers in the convicts. Instead of them all to be drunks and womanisers. Thus he's marched them all from Sullivan's Cove and the waterfront where we just departed, and he's marched them to the top of what's now known as Barracks Hill. Now it's here where he established Angleton. Now talking a little bit about the history of Hobart, I'd like to bring up a certain date, the 7th of February 1967. Is there anyone on board like to yell out a guess as to why that date is so significant to the people of Hobart? It's what the locals now call Black Tuesday or the 67 bushfires. Some of the worst bushfires that Hobart has on history. Done when there's a cold beer waiting at the end of the day. Now another establishment that didn't survive this fire, up on the Springs on the mountain or the 720 metre level, was the iconic Springs Hotel, tennis court attached to it and everything, with a majestic old building, but an unlicensed establishment. Just because of this, they chose never to rebuild this one. It really is a shame. Now I'll be able to show you a photo of it before too long. Now the grounds where the Springs Hotel once stood have been turned into a lovely picnic area today, so it hasn't gone completely to waste. Now the Mount Wellington Explorer bus service is the first and only bus service that has access to the very summit of the mountain when they close the gates to the public due to the snow. They will close the mountain to us on high fire danger days though, as it is a one road in, one road out type situation. The last thing you want to be stuck up there. Where we're heading to before climbing the mountain is the highest suburb in Hobart in terms of elevation or altitude. It's considered to be a rainforest type of environment. A lot of people liken it to areas like the Dandenong Ranges of Victoria or even the Blue Mountains of Sydney. One thing we have over both those places is that we are still within only minutes of the city. Now we go from there up to the Springs where it starts to thin out into a woodland environment, before thinning out even further at the chalet or the 1,000 metre level of the mountain into a subalpine environment. Then comes alpine shortly after the Big Bang. Now at each of these landmarks along the way, you'll see how the environment changes quite extensively, and generally you feel that temperature drop. Rainforest bushland either side of this path, and a lot of overgrown ferns creating a canopy over it. My 7-year-old daughter said it was like being back in Jurassic Park, walking along there, without the dinosaurs between us, so feel certainly qualified to point in the right direction with a lot of these tracks. Another one at the Springs if they wanted to continue receiving those benefits. 204 just changing over to 64 with bus 203, being our other Mount Wellington Canaan beat the old scale. Now it's not the highest mountain peak in Tasmania by any means, it's only the 74th height. And how's the Hobart Rivulet coming down off this mountain? Alright, everyone's got their photo, let's go. What we're looking at here, Blackman's Bay, we have this point of land being Howden and Tinderbox.
There's a channel of water that runs through there, and the next landmass over is the North Island of Bruny Island. Now down the right-hand side of Bruny Island, we have the Don Trocasto Channel. So it said 1967, the bushfires completely jumped that, burnt parts of Bruny Island. Now follow that all the way down to the horizon, and you can see what looks like a couple of kilometres offshore. So let them graze on the grass out there for weeks at a time. Now I certainly wouldn't have liked to have been a cow doing that swim back in the day. I'd hate to think how many they actually lost. And then grab a few photos before we head up into the clouds. On the site of an earlier hotel, the West Point Riviera, Australia's first legal casino. I do tell a lie with that one. But yeah, they were recovered, but not the 7 crew members on the Lake Illawarra. Now, because of this, in 1984, this other bridge to our right-hand side at the moment come into existence. And that's the Bowen Bridge, named after John Bowen, that 21-year-old lieutenant that came out in 1803. That cove of water to the top right-hand side of the Bowen Bridge is Roosing Cove, where he established that settlement for the British before David Collins came and uprooted them all. Now looking up the river as far as you can with that as we speak. Now it's that area of the river that's considered to go from salt water to brackish before becoming fresh water further up in the Darwin Valley. Now we're just approaching the chalet, the other end of that Orpipes Walk. We're about 1,000 metres in elevation, where the sub-alpine area of the mountain starts. Now prior to the chalet, there's a car park coming up on our left-hand side, and beyond this car park is a waterfall made up of natural spring water being very cold. It's because of this 13,000 years ago, the last ice age on Earth, and imagine this mountain being iced over permanently, beeping the horn. And I ask that if you hear me beeping the horn, that you make your way back.
coming up on our left hand side. All that exposed dolerite rock and a view of Hobart in the background, 20 photo you take from here. Now, sometimes you can get very lucky and even see a rock wallaby or two down here on these rocks. We're just approaching that on this next bend now. No such thing as common sense these days. By the time you arrive there, you won't have too long to wait for that next bus. Now in 1803, when the British settlers first arrived in the area, they made the claim that the Darwin region was so full of southern right whales, you could almost walk across the river on the backs of them. Now, because of this, in 1806 they decided to set up Australia's very first whaling station. They chose an area southeast of Hobart to set this whaling station up called Driffy Point. They chose this location because Hobart predominantly has a northwesterly wind blowing through, and it blows the smell of the whaling station away from the settlement of Hobart. Now, Driffy Point is made up of 4 hills next to no trees on them today. They happen to be directly ahead of us on the other side of the Darwin River. Now, the reason these hills are so barren of trees is some 220 years ago they pulled the trees out of the ground roots and oils for heating and lighting. Now, in the early years of Van Diemen's Land, the whaling industry was very big, and by the 1840s we're exporting it all over the UK. Now, it's in the 1850s that we established the Hobart Gas Works down the bottom end of Macquarie Street in Hobart, an old suburb of Hobart that no longer exists. It was one down through South Hobart first, where the wealthy had established during the 1830s. It has a lot of memorabilia from walking on display. I just coming through the whole way around. Now, I was 8 years of age. Now, from 1803 to 1853, how good behaviour, they were then allowed to become convict servants to the wealthy of Hobart. Makes you wonder just how many people have been lost in a good book, enjoying a cup of tea, and looked up to watch their bus sail on past them. Now, before we head on back to Hobart from here, last call, is there anyone wanting to do a walk in? Now, any of the seafood restaurants of a straight pier, and there's a restaurant there called Phil, so you won't miss it. But on the front facade, that's behind 1927, is after 95 years of brewing solely the Cascade Pale Ale, they eventually decided to branch out and brew a new type of beer, being the Cascade Draft that we all know and love today. To do so required the use of all this new equipment over the top 4 floors. In my opinion, becomes it loses its character over the top 4 floors. Now, in the early years of Van Diemen's Land, they built whatever they had available to them, being the sandstone that Hobart was so abundant with, and the Tasmanian timbers such as the Huon pine, the Tasmanian oak or swamp gum, the Tasmanian blackwoods and hardwoods. Now, one thing as soon as they manufacture a forest, while it's still warm, in large drums or vats of treacle to help protect it. Now, treacle had a very interesting effect on this glass, creating a rippling through it. And when we find ourselves back on Macquarie Street, heading back into Hobart, we'll pass one of the last 2 examples. Of course, when we find ourselves back on Macquarie Street, it's named after Lachlan Macquarie, that second governor from 1811 to 1822. When he first arrived in the colony, he ordered the governor's surveyor, James Meehan, to drop the grid-like pattern that Hobart Street's run through today. Now, being the governor's surveyor, James Meehan was the very first lieutenant surveyor of Van Diemen's Land in 1808, first laid British eyes upon the Tasmanian tiger. Of course, it was discovered well and truly before the Antoine Bruni d'Entrecasteaux on the 13th of May 1792. example of treacle glass, about 100 metres down the road from this set of lights that we're approaching, on the left-hand side of the road. And you're looking for a large red brick building, black writing all over the side wall facing us. And the idea is to set your gaze at the upstairs windows facing us on Macquarie Street. Now as we drive past the glare, we'll expose that rippling to you. Now you will only see it with the naked eye, you won't be able to pick it up with the camera. This one just here. We at the Mount Wellington Bus Service invite you to follow us on all forms of social media to keep up to date with any new tours that we may be offering for the next time you find yourselves in Hobart. We also welcome and encourage all reviews and feedback on TripAdvisor.com, whether these reviews be good or bad. If you are willing to leave a good review today or even a great review, I'd like to remind you my name is Paul. However, if you're going to leave a review that goes the other way for whatever reason, I ask that you use the name Richard. And one other tour that we do also offer is the Richmond Historic Village. The bus of that one departs the Tasmanian Travel Centre at 1 p.m. every day. It takes you out to a lovely Georgian-style village, established about 20 kilometres east of Hobart in 1824, and at the time was the 4th most populated city in all of Australia. That was up until the 1850s when everyone just abandoned it. It never really fully recovered after that. It only had a population of about 200 people a day. Now of course 1850s coincides with the Victorian gold rush, so it doesn't take too much to put two and two together there. Now you can use the bus from Richmond Village as a shuttle to go out to the Voodoo Wildlife Park and see the famous Tasmanian devils, or to visit any of the local wineries in the area, and there are quite a few. Now you give it a good couple of hours at your leisure just to explore Richmond. There's a few different sites there, all worth checking out, but my favourite attraction is a place called the Museum. It's a bit of a play on words, but a museum dedicated to the species of Australia's native animals. Now it's there where I promise you'll have a really crappy time. Very shortly, I'm going to be pulling up at the travel centre back on Elizabeth Street, and in doing so, concluding our tour today. On behalf of the Mount Wellington with me today, I certainly hope it's been a pleasurable experience. Also, I hope that I've given you some ideas on other things you'd like to do while you're in Hobart. I've certainly given you some dinner options tonight. Now it's about here, guys, where you normally offer me that round of applause.
Daily tours are at 10 a.m, 11:30, 1:30 and 3:30. And it leaves over the road. Yeah, so get one of the afternoon tours. Then go to...
ここよ。 you go here.
There you go, you take the wing.
I was losing interest in I look only 25 years old, but I'm much more than 25.
never came up to Mr. Jones's. Whole families worked here for generations. Had John was a going factory, jam factory, when John Elliott, an entrepreneur from the mainland, came aboard it, bought the factory and a building and shut the door. Closed the door, hundreds of people out of work overnight, took it offshore to Melbourne, trading under Elders IXL for a little while, and now it's defunct. And so this pods, which are shipping containers, allowing light to come through. So the mortar lining the locally acquired sandstone here contains the Moanina shells from the Midlands. They were crushed for their life that you see in the signature red in the hotel. Denotes that it's an addition to the original footprint. In the frame in itself, little stories inspired by lyrics of songs or down to the floor, which is why it goes up in the hand painted woodcuts, which is we do have here the works of Christina Felicios, Argentinian born but living in Tasmania for a long time. Suited with this lovely jam that will leave on a hot day. Which is lovely. Hence, and this is the original factory floor. Very tight spaces.
Body